She lied, and started a war between two peaceful villages. But when her enemy saved her life, everything changed. Now she has to choose, protect the girl who nearly died for her, or watch her village burn with hatred. But no one expected what happened next. Not even death could stop her final act of forgiveness. She gave her life, for the child of her enemy. What if the person you hate is the one sent to save you? Before we start this intriguing story, we will like you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified once we drop new story. Also comment the time you are watching this and country you are watching from. The sun had just dipped behind the tall baobab trees, casting long shadows across the dry footpath that separated Udoko and Tabuka, two villages locked in hatred. No one remembered how the fight began. Some said it was over stolen goats. Others claimed it started when a Tabuka hunter killed a sacred Udoko leopard. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. Udoko and Tabuka were enemies and no one dared cross the boundary. Children were told bedtime stories filled with warnings. Never trust a Tabuka, the elders would hiss. They are born with poison in their tongues. But Kamara, a 17-year-old girl from Udoko, was different. She had the kind of eyes that could calm a storm. Her voice was soft like the evening wind, and her heart carried more kindness than the village well carried water. "Why do we hate them so much, Mama?" she once asked, watching smoke rise from Tabuka's cooking fires across the hill. Her mother had looked away. "Because they hate us first." Kamara wasn't satisfied with that answer. In her heart, she believed that peace was better than pride. But in Udoko, peace was weakness, and weakness could cost you your life. One hot afternoon, the Udoko market was buzzing with noise. Drums played. People danced. Traders shouted over each other, selling yams, spices, and red palm oil. Then Lemba appeared. She wore the red beads of Tabuka royalty, tall and proud, her face sharp with pride and pain. She had snuck into Udoko disguised as a traveler, hoping to trade secret herbs her mother had grown. Gasps filled the market. A whisper spread like fire. "She's from Tabuka. An enemy? Seize her." The crowd moved quickly. Stones flew. Someone shouted for the village guards. But before anyone could hurt her, Kamara stepped forward. She stood between Lemba and the crowd, her hands raised. "Leave her," Kamara shouted. "She is unarmed. She came in peace." The elders frowned. The guards hesitated. Lemba's eyes, sharp and filled with hate, narrowed at Kamara. "Why are you protecting me?" she hissed. "I would never do the same for you." Kamara looked at her calmly. "Then I hope one day you will." That night, Kamara's house was silent. Her mother cried softly in the corner. Her father refused to speak to her. "You brought shame to our name," he said. "You saved a snake." But Kamara couldn't sleep. Her heart was heavy not with regret, but with worry. She had looked into Lemba's eyes and seen something more than hate. She had seen pain. And pain she believed could be healed. But what Kamara didn't know was that her act of kindness had started a ripple, one that would soon grow into a storm. The next morning, the Tabuka chief announced something terrifying. "A Udoko girl attacked our princess in the market. We must avenge her." Lemba said nothing. Kamara's kindness had saved Lemba. But now, Lemba's silence might destroy Kamara's entire village. 3 nights after the market incident, thick smoke rolled over Udoko like a black wave. Goats screamed. Children ran barefoot. Fire licked the sky. Tabuka warriors, faces painted in war colors, had attacked at midnight. They came with torches, machetes, and a thirst for revenge. Kamara woke to her mother's screams. "Run, Kamara. Run." She stumbled outside, coughing, barefoot on the hot ground. Huts were burning. People were crying. She turned and saw the attackers, and among them, riding a dark horse like a queen of fire, Lemba. Their eyes met through the flames. Kamara froze. Lemba stared back. But then, Lemba looked away. She said nothing. She let Kamara's house burn. By sunrise, 3 people were dead, dozens injured, and many homes destroyed. Kamara sat under the baobab tree, her dress stained with ash. Her hands trembled. "I defended her," she whispered to the wind. "I stood for her." And she came back with fire. Elder Nadi approached her, his walking stick tapping angrily. "This is what kindness brings," he spat. "Your heart was soft, Kamara. Now our soil drinks blood." Kamara didn't answer. Her heart was shattered. Not because her home had burned, but because the girl she tried to save had become the face of her village's pain. The next evening, Kamara made a choice no one expected. She slipped into the forbidden forest, a place full of spirits and snakes, and walked the hidden path to Tabuka. She had no weapon. Just a woven basket of herbs and roots, offerings of peace. Somewhere deep in her heart, a small voice whispered, "Find her. Ask her why." And so she walked. All night. Through darkness. Past ghost trees and glowing eyes. Until finally she reached the edge of Tabuka. She stood in silence, facing the enemy land. She took a deep breath. And stepped across. Kamara was captured almost instantly. Tabuka guards dragged her through the village, and soon she stood before the Tabuka chief, a tall, scarred man with cold eyes. "What brings a Udoko girl here?" he asked, his voice like thunder. "I came to speak to Lemba," Kamara said softly. "I came for the truth." Lemba was summoned. When she entered the hut, Kamara looked at her, not with hate but with quiet strength. "Why did you come back with fire?" Kamara asked. "After I saved you?" Lemba looked down, then up. Her voice cracked. "I didn't tell them the truth," she said. "I let them believe you attacked me. Because if they knew you saved me, they would have called me weak." Kamara's breath caught. "You lied." Tears welled in Lemba's eyes. "I didn't know they would kill. I didn't want to look soft in front of my father. I wanted to prove I was loyal." Silence filled the room. And in that silence, something strange happened. Kamara stepped forward. And hugged her. Lemba stood frozen, then slowly her arms wrapped around Kamara's back. Just as the moment softened, a guard rushed in shouting, "The Udoko warriors are outside the gates. They've come to kill Lemba, and take Kamara back." War had come again. This time, Kamara and Lemba were both trapped in the middle, and only one could be saved. Tabuka's village drums beat furiously. Udoko warriors had surrounded the village, shouting threats and banging their shields. Kamara stood frozen beside Lemba as the Tabuka guards prepared for battle. "If your people storm the gate, you'll die too," one guard barked at Kamara. The Tabuka chief's voice roared. "Send her back to Udoko in chains. Let them see she's our prisoner, not our guest." Kamara turned to Lemba. "You said you were sorry. Prove it." Lemba looked torn. Fear flickered in her eyes. "I don't know what to do." Kamara gripped her hand. "Then let me show you." Under the cover of night, Lemba did something no one expected. She helped Kamara escape. Through the back gate, past the yam barns, they slipped into the river forest. A dense, dangerous area where wild beasts roamed and the river ran dark and fast. It was quiet, too quiet. Only the sound of frogs croaking and crickets singing followed them. "Why are you helping me now?" Kamara asked, panting. Lemba whispered, "Because no one has ever shown me the kind of mercy you gave me. I need to make it right." But just as they reached the river, a whistle pierced the air. Tabuka warriors. They had been followed. Arrows whizzed past the trees. One scraped Kamara's arm. The two girls ran until they found a narrow wooden bridge over the river. Old, shaky, and slippery from rain. Lemba crossed first. Kamara followed, blood dripping from her wound. But just as Kamara reached the middle of the bridge, it collapsed beneath her with a loud crack. "Kamara!" Lemba screamed. Kamara crashed into the river, swallowed by the dark current. Lemba didn't hesitate. She dropped her spear and dived in after her. The river was cold, wild, and fast. For a moment, Lemba couldn't see anything, until a pale hand surfaced, fingers twitching. She swam harder than she ever had. "Kamara! Hold on." She reached her, grabbed her, pulled her to the bank. Kamara coughed, choking, water pouring from her nose and mouth. Lemba held her tight, shivering. "I got you," she whispered. "I got you." The two girls sat by the riverbank, soaked, exhausted, broken, but alive. Kamara looked at Lemba with weak eyes. "Why did you jump?" Lemba blinked away tears. "Because I couldn't watch you die for a second time." Kamara smiled faintly. "Now we're even." Lemba shook her head. "No. I still owe you everything." Suddenly, distant horns blew. The Udoko warriors were getting closer. The Tabuka guards too. War wasn't over. And now both sides wanted someone dead. Kamara stood slowly. "We can't run forever." Lemba nodded. "Then let's do something no one expects." Kamara raised a brow. "What's that?" Lemba took a deep breath. "Let's end this war." As Kamara and Lemba made a plan to end the bloodshed, a hidden arrow flew from the trees and struck Kamara in the back. She fell to her knees, her eyes wide, her breath fading. "Kamara!" Lemba screamed, and everything went silent. Of course. Here's the intense and emotional next chapter. Kamara collapsed onto the forest floor, blood blooming on her back like a red flower. Lemba dropped beside her, screaming, "Kamara, stay with me." Don't close your eyes. Kamara's lips trembled. Her fingers clutched Lemba's arm. Don't let the war win. Lemba pressed both hands on the wound, her voice shaking. You're not going to die. Not like this. Not after everything. Footsteps rustled nearby. From behind the trees, a Udoko warrior emerged. It was Kamara's cousin Ijike, bow still raised. His face went pale. Lemba? He asked, shocked. What are you doing with her? Lemba looked at him, her hands stained with Kamara's blood. Saving her, from you. Ijike didn't lower his bow. She's our enemy. Why are you with her? Lemba stood tall, tears sliding down her cheeks. Because she saved me when she didn't have to. And now she's dying because I chose peace. Behind her, Kamara gasped, barely breathing. Ijike hesitated, confusion in his eyes. But just then, more Udoko and Tabuka warriors arrived, weapons drawn, voices raised. A standoff. Chiefs from both villages stood opposite each other in the moonlight. The Udoko chief pointed at Lemba. She's the enemy. She brought war. The Tabuka chief barked. She betrayed her blood by helping that girl. All eyes turned to Lemba, standing alone, caught between two flames. Kamara was unconscious at her feet. Lemba looked at both sides, then stepped forward. Enough, she shouted. This war was never about honor. It was about pride. Everyone fell silent. I was the one who lied, Lemba confessed. Kamara saved me at the market. But I let my people believe she hurt me, so I wouldn't look weak. I started this war. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I am the reason Udoko burns. I am the reason Kamara is dying. She turned to the chiefs. If blood is what you want, take mine. But let the war end. She dropped her spear and knelt. Let me pay the price, for peace. Lemba was taken in chains to Udoko. The villagers threw stones at her. Children called her a traitor. But she said nothing. The next day the village held a trial. Both tribes gathered. Kamara lay on a mat beside Elder Nadi, wrapped in cloth, her wound cleaned but deep. Lemba stood before the crowd. The Udoko chief raised his hand. Lemba, you confessed to starting a war. Why should we spare you? Lemba looked around and spoke softly. Because I've already died. The moment I watched Kamara bleed, I died inside. I don't ask for mercy. I ask for peace. Suddenly a voice rose. Weak, strained, but firm. Then give it to her. It was Kamara. She had risen, leaning on a wooden staff. Gasps filled the air. She gave me back my life, Kamara said. She saved me. Twice. If we kill her, then I should die too. The chiefs looked at each other. The crowd murmured. Kamara walked to Lemba, took her hand, raised it high. She is no longer my enemy. She is my sister. And for the first time in decades, both villages were silent together. The Udoko chief stepped forward, eyes sharp. If we let her go, he said slowly, there must be something in return. Everyone leaned in. He looked at Kamara. Will you marry my son, and unite both tribes forever? Kamara's eyes widened. Lemba looked shocked. And the crowd exploded with whispers. The sun rose gently over Udoko and Tabuka, two villages once soaked in hatred, now bound by the promise of peace. Colorful fabrics danced in the breeze. Drums beat softly. Birds sang louder than usual, as if they too had waited for this day. Kamara stood in a red and gold wrapper, her back still healing, her eyes full of quiet strength. Across from her, Obina, the Udoko chief's son, waited nervously by the shrine, beads around his neck. The people gathered, stunned. Kamara, the Tabuka warrior girl, was marrying the son of their old enemy? Lemba stood beside her, dressed in white. Her eyes didn't leave Kamara's. You don't have to do this, Lemba whispered. You're not a peace offering. Kamara smiled softly. I know. I'm a bridge. And you're the one who built it. Just as the elder raised his hands to bless the union, a loud scream shattered the silence. Smoke. From the Tabuka side of the river. A fire. People panicked. Women grabbed their children. Warriors reached for their spears. It's the Udoko again, someone shouted. It's a trap. The piece began to crack like dry clay. Kamara grabbed Lemba's hand. Something's wrong. They ran toward the flames, only to find a small hut burning, a child trapped inside. The girl cried out, coughing. Without thinking, Lemba ran into the fire. The villagers screamed. Kamara tried to follow, but the heat pushed her back. Everyone watched. Seconds passed. Then a minute. Then suddenly, Lemba burst out of the flames, the child in her arms. Her wrapper was burning. Her arms scorched. She fell to her knees. Kamara rushed to her, held her face. "You came back," Lemba whispered, barely breathing. "Like I knew you would." And then, her eyes slowly closed. The girl who started a war had just given her life to save a child from the enemy's tribe. 3 days later, the Udoko and Tabuka people gathered beneath the Irako tree. No one fought. No one shouted. They had lost too much. Kamara stepped forward, holding a bundle of ashes wrapped in white cloth. "She died saving your child?" Kamara said to the Tabuka elders. "The same girl you once called a liar." She placed the ashes beneath the Irako tree. "From her pain let peace grow." Obinna stepped forward and said, "No one should die to teach us how to forgive." The villagers began laying stones around the ashes, one by one, each stone a promise never to return to hatred. And in time, those stones became a shrine. A place where 2 villages brought gifts, not weapons. Where enemies became neighbors. Where stories of Lemba and Kamara were told to children, not as a tragedy but a tale of courage, truth, and forgiveness. Moral lesson. Sometimes, the one who hurts you most is the one who teaches you how to heal. True peace is not born in victory, it's born in forgiveness. Thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos like this.